You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast, live every single Tuesday night on all your favorite social media networks. I'm glad to have you all back to tune in for another great show. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian, and
Keith Cheatham.
Also, don't forget to download the audio version on Thursdays at midnight. I was thinking before the show, I was sitting here petting on my pup.
Petting on your pup?
Petting on my pup. And I was sitting there and I was like, we need like an Edie cam. We need Edie to be running around and just going through stuff while the show's going on, and then every once in a while cut back to it. I mean, most of it will be like, she's right here. She's just laying right here. I don't know if I can point down.
You can. You could do it.
No, I won't go down that far.
Okay.
It won't go down that far.
It won't go down that far.
I can't articulate the camera, but I want like a live camera to like be able to just, we can watch what she's doing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes she's in the other room like getting to the trash. And I come to find out I don't know this till the end of the show, and we wrap up and then we walk out the door and y'all are like, there's a bunch of crap out here in the hallway.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and y'all just...
You're killing me, Smalls!
Yep, that's how I feel.
Yep.
That's exactly how I feel. Good job, Keith. Got one off. Got a good one off.
Get it off.
That's in honor of James Earl Jones.
Oh.
I know we talked about him last week, but
Good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
Yes, he's I don't have anything from Darth Vader on there, but that's close enough.
I mean,
You have here, go ahead.
It's working! It's working!
There's more than just that.
that's true. Technically, he would have been Vader at this point.
Well, and
So
yeah, there you go.
He was still Anakin, but that one's more fun.
And there's another one you're missing out on that he's also part of.
No, that's Han.
It's still
It's not Vader. Well, the other two are still technically Vader.
They're actually Anakin.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I was thinking just Star Wars in general.
Yeah.
I'm a loser. What can I say? We got a great show planned for you. We got a good review. Lots of people are going to be a little bit surprised by the review we chose. No, we didn't choose Speak No Evil. But the thing is we didn't miss the big one on the block, because the big one on the block was still from last week, which we reviewed, Beetlejuice.
True.
That don't say it. Does it count if somebody else says it in the
No.
vicinity?
We asked this last week. We have not decided.
The same person has to say it.
The same.
Sean says that, but we have not confirmed that.
I've confirmed it.
I would say there's a progressive commercial.
Yeah,
that
where they
makes
panic over. They make it seem like if anyone says it within
That's right.
3. But are we counting a progressive commercial as
No, we're
canon?
not.
I mean,
I don't know. They're the ones that paid him to promote it. And considering the news that broke that Tim Burton actually cut the budget so he could make it a theatrical release, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But they spent a crap ton on promoting the movie.
They did.
Was that included in the budget, or is that a separate marketing budget?
I'm sure that's separate.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Production budget was about $100 million.
Yeah.
Could have been about 150, and they were wanting to put it on streaming, and he said no. But that's not what we're talking about. No. We're talking about a surprise hit that came out this past week, stunning the box office by being one of the top 3 highest grossing documentaries in the last, decade? Wow.
Decade.
That's right.
I think it came in 4th, I think, for the overall weekend.
It premiered at number 3,
opening
day,
night, yeah.
and then ended at number 4 in the top 5. That is Am I Racist by Mr. Matt Walsh in the Daily Wire. Mm-hmm. That's pretty incredible.
And that's an impressive feat for any documentary at all, let alone one that
has a conservative bent.
It's made for conservatives, and it shows. It's funny because I mentioned it in the review, which we'll hear, but even Deadline had to admit, it's like, I guess you can make money. Like conservatives want to spend money too. Imagine that.
And without getting, I guess you could say, without getting too political as one might with this kind of topic, I mean, you might say just by virtue of reviewing it, you're already dipping your toe in that water, which, come on. When are we not been completely impolitical on this show.
None of the official like big name critics and outlets are
course
reviewing
not.
it, so somebody ought to,
But here's the thing: we reviewed What Is a Woman,
Yeah,
one
we
of our
did.
highest watched reviews.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Am I Racist
maybe
will
this
follow.
will be, yeah.
But also the fact that we've reviewed a countless other Daily Wire films.
Yeah.
We've been in support of what they're trying to do in terms of, again, from a conservative standpoint, but less so in terms of entertainment, just pushing out culture that isn't necessarily woke.
So even outside of, like, obviously this and What Is a Woman are a bit more political, but I mean their actual movies aren't. And from an outside of a political standpoint, like I think they're like I've not disliked any of their movies.
No.
Like, I'm not saying they're the best movies. Some of them are a bit average, but they're all entertaining and all better than a lot of things we've reviewed from Hollywood. So
And depending on this review, it very well could be one of the best reviewed movies we've seen from them. We don't know yet. We're gonna dive into the review and then our discussion.
Delve.
12. We haven't
That's-
done 12 in a while.
That's right.
We
We're
need
gonna
to delve into things.
delve into.
12.
You don't understand that political speak.
Always want to makes me think of Tolkien and
dwarves.
dwarves. I just like the
Oh!
dwarves are dwelving.
I didn't even think about that. No, it's like it's a
just true,
combination.
yeah.
I mean, if we were writers on Rings of Pooh, we could probably
we
make
could
this.
have forced
Yeah.
we could have forced the dwarves delve too deeply.
or just be like, no, there's an amalgamation of a dwarf and an elf.
Yeah.
And they
Oh,
come
the
together, and
dwelves.
they're the dwelves.
Oh, it's a mixed race.
7 12s.
Hey, I bet you it would still be better than
dwelves.
what we're gonna get with that Disney Snow White and whatever they try to do with those animated.
Yeah,
Those are
great.
that
great.
looks
Like
terrible.
It's like when you fail so abysmally that you just stick cartoon CGI things on top of your crap actors.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's gonna be incredible to see that.
It's like, look, guys, we fixed it. They tried to Sonic the issue. We'll just, but
The problem is they did a reverse
worse.
Sonic.
Yeah, they did worse.
They went backwards. It's like I actually think you would have been done better if you just released what you originally had.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's gonna be ugly either way.
I don't know if we will review that one or not.
No, we're gonna review Daily Wire Snow White.
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. We probably will.
Yeah.
That's 2025 now, right?
I think they both
actually,
are now.
I think they I think delayed it intentionally after they found out Disney did to show a direct comparison and be like, look, we can do a better job at actual Disney material than Disney can. Just sad to say. Because we got some news on that front as well.
Danzy.
About
News
Inside
on the
Out 2 and
Yeah.
how they saved that from getting too woke. And
Yeah.
thankfully they did. Enough people stopped.
Oh yeah, no, that all fascinates. I mean, we already said there's going to be like Agatha all along. There's projects still in the works that are definitely still going to have the old mindset.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think Disney's completely cured yet either, but we'll get into that more.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in our headline segment. We also got our relationship segment tonight. Talking about some extended family.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into that a little bit later on. So let's just
extend.
roll. Oh, Keith, stretch it out. Stretch out your whiteness.
I was stretching out of my
extending.
whiteness. You got to extend out of it.
You got to get out of it. That's right. Let's get into our review this week of Matt Walsh's and the Daily Wire's Am I Racist?
This year has been a much more interesting year at the theater than I think anyone imagined it would be. Coming off of multiple strikes, layoffs, and even a shift in culture, it's clear things have indeed begun to change. I'm not saying the rotted out brains of the Hollywood elite have been cured. There has still been plenty of agenda-filled garbage, and there will continue to be plenty more. Audiences, however, are speaking with their pocketbooks, and while Hollywood certainly hasn't had a change of heart, plummeting bottom lines have certainly awoken them to a much-needed change in business. That said, the culture war is still being raged, and it's much more important now than ever to keep our foot on the gas. Luckily, there are still those out there willing to fight the fight, and this weekend's box office bears that proof. From Daily Wire Studios comes Matt Walsh's follow-up to the successful, yet supposedly controversial documentary, What Is a Woman? This time tackling the issue of race and what has been an even more successful and even more quote-unquote controversial mockumentary, Am I Racist? Follow Matt Walsh on his journey of learning and self-discovery as he becomes DEI certified and learns all about his white privilege and white fragility, exposing dishonest academics and DEI grifters who sling nonsense to prey on people's insecurities and vulnerabilities. Am I a Racist reveals the real race issues going on in America, while revealing those who would prey on the innocent for the charlatans they are. Am I Racist has garnered nearly $5 million on a $3 million budget in its opening weekend, landing itself in the top 5 grossing films at the box office this weekend. Coming in behind behemoths like Beetlejuice, Deadpool, and Speak No Evil, which is also in its opening week. The fact that a conservative documentary has beaten out other opening films, such as A Killer's Game, coming in only below powerhouses is impressive. The fact that according to Deadline, it's the third highest grossing documentary in the last decade is also impressive. And even Deadline has admitted that there's money to be made with right-wing audiences. I feel Walsh's documentary, however, goes deeper than that. Sure, this is a film that will mainly only appeal to right-leaning circles or moderates with open minds. Those firmly planted in left-leaning ideology will more than likely find plenty to hate about the movie. Already, many have attacked Walsh's methods during interviews and how he elicits responses from his guests, though these methods are no worse than those used by Sacha Baron Cohen in his critically acclaimed Borat films. If anything, Walsh's tactics are milder, as just like in his previous documentary, Walsh asks straightforward and logical questions, or else responds with the same logic used by those he's interacting with. It is the interviewees who do all the work, making themselves look foolish. Am I Racist is brilliant in this way, as it does expose the grifters whose ideology isn't about saving or helping anyone, but is instead an easy way to prey on the weak and get paid. Walsh is not vindictive or particularly mean-spirited in any way, and in fact, a portion of the film is spent interviewing middle-class and lower-income people, those living their daily lives and those who are impacted most by the idiotic DEI systems often put in place. These scenes are amongst the most powerful. Where I feel the documentary does struggle, however, is only in pacing. Some scenes take a little long to get where they need to be, and others left me wanting more. The movie does a great job allowing these con artists to expose themselves as frauds, but often I wished it would drive a stake into the hearts of the matter and really call them out. But again, Matt's approach to allowing them to expose themselves is often much more effective. Am I Racist to ask questions that I feel every American should be asking regardless of political ideology, and I would welcome those opposite of the Daily Wire's political standings to go see the film with an open mind, as many of the film's themes and questions should even make those who lean left take pause. I give Am I Racist 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Wow, that's quite the rating there. 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Is that the highest I've given
a
Daily Wire one?
It is so far. What is a Woman was 3.
Oh yeah, I thought you gave 3.5 to that.
I don't know. I think we never reviewed Terror on the Prairie.
No.
I would give that one 3.5. That one's my favorite of their actual fictitious just entertainment films.
Oh, okay.
I love Terror on the Prairie. Out of all the ones they've done,
and it's funny because that was
favorite.
probably the one that was touted because it brought Gina Carano back after her ousting from Disney, her unfair firing, and then it's like that was supposed to be their biggest budget, because I know that one was in conjunction with, they've all been in conjunction with Bonfire Legend, but that was one that was actually produced. The others were
that
bought.
one was fully produced by Bonfire Legends, and that might be
and Daily Wire.
And I think that may yes, and Daily Wire, but
because the other ones I know, Shut In, Run Hide Fight.
Shut In was good.
Yeah, Run Hide Fight's my favorite so far.
Oh gosh, what was the comedy
The Hyperion.
That
was my least favorite.
But all 3 of those were previously produced, and they bought the rights to
them.
air it. Terror on the Prairie was actually produced for the
I like
platform.
all of them. Hyperion's is definitely my least favorite, and Terror on the Prairie was my favorite.
But so I mean, look, obviously we're not just dipping our toe in the water for Daily Wire just because this is their next big release. I mean, this was their first theatrical release, which is major news. So for it to have cracked the top 5 and again become one of the highest grossing documentaries in the last 10 years. I mean, look, no, documentaries are not usually the things people are rushing to go to the theater to see. But obviously there's a lot of backing and support for this film if you're a Daily Wire fan or just a conservative in general to want to see it succeed. But the fact that it is entertaining and we give it 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Well, it's also it's also a more of the Borat mockumentary style too. I mean, the segments in there are with real people, and it's not scripted. I mean, there's the little segments in between where Matt's doing his thing that is scripted, but the actual interviews are legit. And it's just him basically prompting them to basically just
Put their foot in their mouth.
I mean, he doesn't.
much.
Do,
No, that's
he really
exactly-
doesn't
yeah.
do anything
No.
other than ask them questions or rebuttal with their own logic. They do all the work explaining what they think and what they believe and what they stand for, and the stupidity is what it is because it is stupidity.
And I think it's funny because a lot of the same tactics are used in What is a Woman, but I
Yeah.
think because of the subject matter and the sincerity of What is a Woman, it took a little bit more of a dramatic approach, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is intentionally supposed to show you, like you said, people kind of sticking their foot in their mouth and realizing how dumb and ridiculous this grift movement is with a lot of these, quote unquote, righteous actors that are propelling the race movement forward and trying to, call out their own racism. And it just shows you how ridiculous it is and what a grift it is. And yeah, using the same comedic routes of someone like Borat, which it's compared to, rightfully so, but I think in a better sense because Borat often typically went to smaller mom and pop blue collar people to try to ridicule them and make fun of them for their beliefs, whereas this I think punches up and actually goes after white collar elitists that so
Academics
believe,
and-
the
Oh, yeah.
academic
Yeah.
types that think that they are so highbrow and above reproach because of sitting above society, and that they're willing to discover this newfound way of handling racism and again being not only just not racist but anti-racist.
As long as you pay them well to do it.
Yes.
Right.
Because
Right.
that's the thing. They don't do it out of the goodness of their own heart.
Of course not. Of course not.
Oh.
Which I think is the other boneheaded thing a lot of people were attacking this movie for on the surface, again, without having seen it, probably.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, no major outlet has reviewed it.
Yeah.
But a lot of them don't realize it's like, no, these people only did this after they received payment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to be part of this interview process, and we're not talking chump change. Some
No.
were
Tens of
some
thousands
were
of dollars, most of the time,
1,500 or
yeah.
something, but a lot of these were like 30,000,
Yeah.
25,000, 15,000. You're talking huge sums of money here just to be part of a documentary and be interviewed on this subject.
I think that's one of the things some of the people that are kind of fighting against the film on social media, especially the people who are highlighted in the film and their ignorance, they're coming back and saying, well, we were paid, to do this. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. You accepted money to, if you believe this so much, you should be, speaking for free. You should be telling everybody this.
Right.
And it's like it's kind of funny though, because I mean, just like in the film, some of their arguments end up getting flipped around against them. And I think that's what they're crying about, the fact that it's like, oh, well, Daily Wire, goaded us in with money. But again, it's like, yeah, you're accepting payment to spat this crap out. You're not doing it, like you said, out of the kindness of your heart because you believe it. You're doing it because it's a hoax.
Yeah, they accepted money to
Or,
basically just say what they had
yeah.
to say. It's like they act like the Daily Wire tricked them. It's like,
No, yeah.
the Daily Wire may not have told you who they were in that sense. Like, yes,
That's
they,
a trick,
They
yeah.
tricked you because they didn't tell you
Right.
they were Daily Wire. But they didn't trick you into saying or doing anything that you weren't already saying or doing. You're just
Right.
mad that they showed you saying and doing
Yeah.
the thing. Like they took the curtains down.
None
and
of them have given
and
the money
unveiled you.
back either,
Yes.
so.
No, nobody gave the money back. And like I said, they basically unveiled them for who they are, and that's why they're
Well, now
ticked
wait,
off.
there was Robin DiAngelo, who
She
not
didn't
only
give it back.
disavowed it, but
Yeah.
she donated it to the NAACP.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But the funny thing is I guarantee you, it's like, again, I know Matt Walsh, a lot has already spread about what's in the movie and what happens.
Yeah.
But he himself has been like, hey, go support it and go see it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But so I won't spoil what actually happens in
Yeah.
the scene. But it's egregious enough that it's like, no wonder, one, she wants to disavow it. But then to be so blatantly obvious, even with the act of then donating that money to the
Yeah.
NAACP,
Yeah.
I'm like, isn't that in form of reparations?
Yeah, it's
that you're
yeah.
paying not on a systematic level,
Yeah.
as she quotes in the movie. But it's so funny to see these people who think they're above, again, the normal common day citizen, and that they think in such a high esteem above the rest of us that they can impart this wisdom on us. And it's so funny to just see them caught in their own tricks with Matt just asking, really simple, logical questions that they then have to, answer. And the way they answer, they again, you're seeing people who most of the time are brought on to these, talk shows for short 3-4 minute snippets. And all they do is they have their own spiel. They get out there and they are, they expose what they do. And you only hear like a cookie cutter explanation and you think, oh, well, that's just a worthy cause.
Yeah.
And of course you never dig in deep past beyond that, but it gives them good word of mouth. And then you have corporations and all these other people who just fall in line and hire them out to come and preach it to their, the peons that we, for these big corporations we all work for. And so thus there is the DEI movement. And so it's so great to see even just the simplest, pushback with logical questions of, most people are going to watch and see it's just absolute absurdity. And like you said, it's being unveiled.
Yeah.
It's not something that you're just like, oh, he tricked them.
Yeah.
He pulled the wool over their eyes and got it. No, these people are being themselves. And when you actually go in on the grassroots ground level and see what it is they're talking about and how they speak, you realize these are vicious, vile people.
Oh,
yeah.
That there are no tricks. That
the
somehow
dinner
they're not
party
the
scene.
victims.
Yes, that was the one that infuriated me the most.
That one was disgusting.
Because I'm just like, first of all, it's like the people that pay to sit there and eat dinner with these women. And I'm
They're
just
fools.
like, yeah, they're absolute
But they're
fools.
victims as well.
But
Here's
I can't give them the victimhood. I just
can
can't.
because here's the thing. I didn't hear them speak. I didn't hear those women speak. Now, look, at best I could say they're ignorant
None
and they
of them
are
have
fools.
the guts to speak.
But given the benefit of the doubt, I can say they're victims because look, if anybody is going to be accused of anything as egregious in our society today as racism, the first thing you may think as a normal, kind, compassionate person is, well, I don't want to be racist. How do I reverse that? And if you're not in political speak or you're not out there having these discussions on the daily and you see something like what happened in 2020 with the George Floyd riots, then all of a sudden you're in your mind thinking, well, I don't want to be one of those people that perpetrates this. And I'm not saying they're completely innocent, but I can see there are some good-willed, kind people. Then these other, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say
I know what word
curse
you're thinking
words.
of.
Just evil women.
Yeah.
That's what some of the things they said were evil.
No, they were.
Yeah.
They were vicious and vile and evil. And the fact that they prey on those types of people and they go out there just to make their money and grift off of this. I mean, the fact that the one woman, I forget her name, Sarah Rao, I think, or something. I think that was her name. But when she's like, I used to be a white woman, she says that line.
She does,
And I'm
yeah.
like, oh, wait. Are we
She's
transracial
she's Muslim,
now?
right?
Yeah, she's Indian.
Part-
Was she
Yeah.
Indian? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought she was.
But who knows? I mean,
Palestinian
again,
or something.
it's like it shows you the absurdity of the movement and how ridiculous it is. And it's mainly for them to be on their own soapbox and have these
I
women
used to be
pay
a
for
white
this.
woman. I'm
I
like,
know.
How? When were you ever a white woman? Like,
Well, when were you
it's
not?
Stupid.
When was that? Because now it's labeled as a bad thing, so
Yeah.
now I'm going to jump out of that basket and jump into this grift. It's just, again, there was so much light exposed from again the simplest thing to what I think even Matt Walsh has said himself is one of the more vile things of the movie, and that is with, again, without spoiling anything, a moment at the end with his Uncle Frank.
Mm-hmm.
And when he sees what normal people, when coaxed and, manipulated in a certain way, what they will resort to just to be included in the in crowd, just to fit in, to be part of, not the, to be the social pariah instead of actually being the one preyed upon. It is sick because it shows what happens when a society and a culture doesn't actually hold or have a moral backbone. And when you don't have that instituted in yourself, you will quickly devolve into, again, evil hatred.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of shows you the dark side of if you really extrapolate this movement out to what it can precipitate against the culture. That's what you're headed towards. So, I mean, again, in a very comedic way, it shows and shines a light on not only this ridiculous movement, and how insane it is, but it also does it in an entertaining way, in a lighthearted manner to a degree too.
And I mean, and again, like you said, as far as like punching up and punching down, because there's been plenty of people that complain about the methods. He does go at one point to Southern America and to middle class people and speak to regular everyday people and show what normal people, regular everyday people trying to live their lives, how they feel, and there's no malice or anything there at all. In fact, that's one of the most honest and one of the best parts of the whole film were those parts. And it's just funny to me that the vitriol the movie gets, when it's very clear, you can see the aim is to reveal basically these people who are these bad faith individuals taking advantage of others just so they can make a profit.
So if I had any gripe with the film, it was the exact opposite of what you just said.
Really?
The fact that he does go to a hole-in-the-wall bar and talk to a bunch of country hicks. I get the fact that he's talking to a biker club, essentially, and those are the people that you would think stereotypically would be the racist people. So proving that not every white dude on a motorcycle is, or every Hell's Angel is a racist, I get that. But at the same time, if I'm on the other side of the aisle, if I'm on the left and I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, yeah, if you go talk to a bunch of unlearned country hicks, that's the answer you're going to get. You have to go to the academia. You have to go to the universities where people have been enlightened and people have are more intelligent, and they're intelligent enough to know that everybody is inherently racist. The fact that he goes to the Joe Schmoes only is... to me, it gives the left ammunition to completely discount that interview altogether.
Actually, I think the opposite, because I think that's what I was
they
saying.
don't consider those people.
Oh yeah, they do.
Normal people.
That's the only people that the Robin DiAngelos, the one woman who said PhD in social something justice. I don't. But all of these people not only consider themselves academics, but they all did.
No, I'm talking about other than the people that he interviewed in this film. If he would have went to a college, a university, and spoke to people who were professors and who were and that agreed with him, is what I'm saying. That there's smart people. It's not just MAGA people that don't think they're racist. Like there are intelligent people working in the university.
But they would discredit them too, even if he went to a college.
I'm not saying they wouldn't. I'm just saying it gives them less of a foothold to discredit them because they're on the same level as Robin DiAngelo. And if they could have found some famous authors and some people that agreed with him. I think it would do the
opposite, though. I think because to me, his whole point was to show that when it comes to something as plain and simple as race relations, it is as simple as you don't see color. You judge by the content of your character.
I agree.
But I know. Yeah. I'm not saying that's where I disagree. I'm saying that the film didn't highlight elitists or academics on the right side of the aisle from that perspective, because it would have made the whole argument of the film mute. It wouldn't have made any sense. It's
I want both.
All you have to go... Well, I think you get that in the sense that something as simple as race relations doesn't need to be any more highbrow than what you saw in that small town America.
I agree with that too. I just think
and to me, that's where you get not only the people who are in the bar and him just pretty much showing you that it's like these are just plain Jane blue collar people. They don't have a racist bone in their body, and then you also get the black man,
the black guy is
who's
different.
A foreigner who came here and opened up a shop, who then spent his life building this, and even says he's like, no, America ain't racist.
Yeah.
In his accent.
He spoke to a couple different black people in the South.
Yeah. That's true. He went to Georgia and he spoke to people down there.
And I mentioned both the South and the middle class because like that whole segment from the biker bar to the end of that, I really enjoyed. And I do get your point with like arguing with the left, but at the same time, I think that far on the left, no matter what you do, they're going to say.
That says he's not racist, and he's probably going to go down the street and say something racist after he gets out of that interview. But I'm just saying it's not. I don't think it will. Again, I think those people are the people that you would think would of course say, no, I'm not racist, because they are just the average working class person.
I think that was what he was trying to
prove.
That
was the point. I get it, but from the left's perspective, I would look down on those people, and I would say Robin DiAngelo would look down on those people.
Yeah, again, that's exactly the
point. I know the point. I'm just saying I think you get people on Robin DiAngelo's level as well to come out and speak out against it, and then she can't say, well, it's only the working class redneck MAGA Trump supporters that would, of course, they would claim they're not racist because they're stupid.
Because I think at that point
But-
you're trying to win over people who are so cemented that they wouldn't matter. They would have an argument
that
against.
may be.
Well, and again,
Because there's people still defending. What's her name? You just said it, and I've forgotten.
D'Angelo?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There's still people defending her. So I think no matter what you do, there's always going to be the people that are cemented. They're like, no, that they did something wrong.
Well,
They're evil
I
and
think
tricked them.
the reason you didn't go to academic types and it made sense was because his whole argument was that that's why we are where we're at in America today, is because academia has been overrun by these elitist, intellectuals that don't really have anything more than. I mean, because here's the thing. I went to college and I've got a bachelor's degree, and I was able to escape unscathed by the liberal woke mind virus, mainly because thankfully it wasn't as
it existed, but it wasn't.
it was.
Yeah.
It definitely existed. I mean,
Yeah.
I took a course called Race in the U.S. and I literally did not read one thing. I didn't read one piece. I'm being 100% honest. I didn't read one book that was assigned to us. Didn't read one piece of text that we were given in that class. And I knew exactly what the professor was looking for. We had like 4 exams in that entire semester, every single one of them, even the final, and I passed with a B because I knew what they were looking for. They were looking for white man bad, you are racist. Racism is inherent in the society. So they've been pushing this stuff for the last 10, 15 years. This is nothing new. And I think what Matt Walsh was trying to show in this movie is this is what happens when you have nothing but intellectualism. When you don't actually have any of these people living in real world experience. It was the juxtaposition of actual, people living on the street, everyday life that they don't see this crap for what it is. They don't follow politics. They're not online all the time. None of that crap mixed with nothing but people who spew it and who regurgitate it. And that's the atmosphere that they live in. And to me, that was the brilliance of the juxtaposition of, no, this is how you get polluted in terms of your social and cultural structure, is when you have social elitists who then preach from on high, oh, all of you are plebes and you need to do as I say, or otherwise you're just not granted the same kind of, stoic intellectual wisdom that the rest of us are. You can only ascend to this level once you've reached this. And I think that was exactly his point of showcasing what he did, was to tear that down to the most bare bones way and say, you all are the most full of yourself, selfish, grifters that are really only doing this for a paycheck at the end of the day, because any moment that you're even held accountable for what it is you preach, you're immediately shown as a fraud. And that's immediately once you, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but in the Robin DiAngelo scene, when you see the price tag come up and tick down like $30, you're immediately like, it's like, oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah. As somebody on the right, I completely agree with that, and I understand the point. But to be a devil's advocate and pretend to be someone from the left, if I was Robin DiAngelo, and I could take that highbrow position and say, well, yeah, these people are animals. Of course, they don't know. They don't know any better. But if she was confronted with a Jordan Peterson, who's intellectually beyond her, there's not.
But I think
that breaks down her argument a little bit more.
But I don't think so, because I don't think her argument is on the level of a Jordan Peterson. Her argument is ignorant. It's lower.
But she doesn't think it is.
She doesn't, but
No,
that's the point of the film, is that she shouldn't. The point of the film is to show a mirror to someone like that, or anybody who may consider themselves on that level.
I feel like they think their degree makes them better and smarter
Oh,
than
for
other
sure, of
people.
course.
But with
Yeah,
someone
they
with a
definitely-
higher degree,
and I
that's
think
against their belief.
And I think the beauty of this film is, even if you're on the left side of the aisle, and that's the thing, that's the reason why major critics won't review this film, because they have to actually look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
So all they can do now, instead of actually face it for what it is and be honest, is ignore it and say, I'm not going to give that racist drivel a time of day. And it's like, oh, is that what it is? Because you didn't even watch it. You don't know what is actually happening. Because that's what I've seen mostly is people who post, I was in the theater with in like a left-leaning area in a deep blue state, and yet I heard people laughing. Now, granted, you could argue and say, even in deep blue areas like we're here in Louisville, you're going to have people...
Like, those are the only conservatives that all went to see the movie.
To support it. But at the same time, for those like even the ones who, I think I said it during the review, I was telling y'all there's a guy named Jeremy Jans, which his videos pop up every week when I go to pull video for the review. And he's one of the top ones that has a review every single week of a major movie, and usually 300,000-400,000 views like within the first few days of a movie release. So he has a huge following.
Yeah.
And he reviewed this one, and of course everywhere on X was just like, I always knew he was a sellout, and I knew he was a right-wing conspiracy. I mean, it's always these cheap lines of attacks that don't have any real intellectual argument. It's just it's a cheap throwaway name-calling tactic. That's all it ever is. And I think that when you actually have to give the movie credit where credit is due and actually review it on merit, you realize, like, oh, crap, there's actually some talent behind this.
Is Rotten Tomatoes still at 0 on the critics
Yeah.
score?
It's just nothing. Like,
Yeah, it's 0. Then nobody's reviewed it.
I mean, it doesn't even say like 0 because like it just there are no reviews. It's just blank.
it's
just
grayed
a gray
out.
tomato.
Okay,
Yeah.
And they have
Yeah.
it's been certified hot.
That's the
on
the
fan,
popcorn
yeah.
meter. They have what's called certified hot instead of fresh because it's the popcorn bucket for fans. But yeah, you have to have
99%. You have to have like a 98 or higher.
Well, no, it's 99%, but you have to have at least 500 verified reviews, which they have over. And yeah, I forget the threshold.
Oh yeah,
but
we covered this on the show.
Yeah.
I forgot when they first broke the barrier of what the criteria was. We still need to get on there because I saw Film Threat.
we covered
Chris
that
Gore and
they had the verified reviews, but they weren't certified hot yet. They hadn't reached, I think, that high. But yeah, they have over 1,000 verified reviews.
no.
Right now.
We covered the criteria back when they first announced this.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes had made new criteria for both the Rotten Tomato score, which is critics, and then the popcorn bucket.
Because see, the verified audiences, which is what it has to be to get the certified hot, is at 99. All audiences, which includes unverified people, is still 96% with
Okay.
over 2,000 reviews. So of the verified people, though, it's at 99. So either way you look at it, it's
But yeah, zip for critics.
Yeah.
yeah, it's still this big gray.
And
In
it's-
fact, they posted a post on Facebook today. It was hilarious. Of we're certified gray because there's been no.
That's
it's
pretty
the
good.
film no critics are talking about, and then all over the poster it says certified
Oh,
gray.
It's funny because critics did review What Is a Woman, didn't they?
That's so good.
I thought
Yeah.
there was a critic. I thought that was.
Actually, no, I don't know.
I can look. I mean, it'll say.
let's
Yeah.
look
I
that
thought
up.
it was bashed, but
'Cause
I
that-
actually
which
enjoyed
wouldn't
What Is a
surprise
Woman
me.
more.
There's 9 critic reviews for What Is a Woman.
Yeah.
And
Of course,
it
what
has
is it?
It has a 78% out of those 9.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
I am surprised.
Well, I think one of them is like Christian Toto, which makes
Yeah.
sense because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
very. John DeVore gave it a bad one, whoever that is. Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. I don't know who that is.
These are like.
Tama Mokshka of The Hindu gave
Oh.
it a positive review.
Well, yeah.
Oh, of course. I
That-
mean,
well, they're,
yeah, I
they're
was
the
saying-
ones
yeah.
that believe in all the.
if you go to Eastern
millions of
cultures, I mean,
genders.
they're the one. No, they're the ones outlawing all
Matt's
this.
movie reviews, which I've heard of, but I'm not really sure what it is, gave it a positive one. Brett McCracken, The Gospel Coalition, which makes sense.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Synagogues, Film Threat, and Hollywood in Toto, which is Christian. So of
Film,
the
Film Threat is Chris Gore. And
Yes.
I'm forgetting. He would kill me if he knew it. Asian guy. I'm just gonna call him the Asian guy from Film Threat.
Well, the guy that did the review from Film Threat is Dante James. He's a black guy. But
oh
I
wow,
mean-
okay. I haven't
Well, I
seen
mean,
him
I'm sure-
on their podcast yet.
Well, he might not be a podcaster. He might just
be a
literally be
writer,
just
yeah.
He could be.
Yeah,
He could be.
But
That's
yeah,
true.
but all of these are literally of the 9 reviews that were done for What Is a Woman. They're pretty much all like right-leaning sources
Yeah.
or The Hindu.
This movie definitely did a good job of showing the ignorance behind the racist argument.
Yeah.
In America, I would say the inherent racist argument.
Yeah.
What Is a Woman, for me, did more of what I want to see from, and it's both of them are supposed to be comical. Both of them are supposed to be mocking the opposition, and I get that completely. But What Is a Woman pointed out the genesis of the gender ideology with the guy, I forgot his name, the pedophile that was.
Oh,
He was molesting
John
children,
Money.
yes, and raised the 2 boys. One is a boy and one is a girl.
Said
and
sex doesn't
yeah,
matter.
Yeah. That's where that started. Like it's been around. People
Yeah,
have been dressing
but-
up like women and the opposite sex.
But a lot of the
for
modern
millennia.
movement
But
that
yes,
has-
the
yeah.
gender ideology of today was started by that guy, and the fact that he dives back into the history, into just the it's disgusting, the stuff that he reveals about that guy and about the experiments and all of that and where it started. I don't feel like there's maybe there wasn't anywhere for them to go there with this film, but I don't feel like this film points. I think it shows that evil, especially in the dinner scene, but I don't feel like it points to the depravity the way What Is a Woman did with that bit about going back in history and pointing that out. So What Is a Woman did more of what I want to see from a documentary that's trying to really expose something. And I hope that I hope Matt Walsh keeps doing stuff like this.
Oh, yeah, no
But
doubt.
I would really like to see the Daily Wire do something. I know you have. It's not Veritas anymore, but you have OMG. You have the people that are embedding people into corporations and all, and getting, behind the scenes footage and getting all this stuff. I like that. And I like to see Daily Wire pull something like that, not to copy, because I know those people have their place, but I would like to see Daily Wire dive a little bit deeper into the seriousness of some of these topics and not just make a mockery of it. They do a great job, or at least Matt Walsh does a great job of making a mockery and making these people look stupid, because they are. But I would like to see Daily Wire just go full in on Disney or full in on
I think it
some
would
of these
have
corporations.
to be
Fully go after George Soros, for God's sake. I want to expose all this stuff, and I like to see, because I know Crowder's getting in it, and I know OMG, and it used to be Project Veritas was really good about that until they poked the bear with Pfizer, and then but that just shows you when
you start
what's his
getting really
name?
high up.
Crap. James O'Keefe.
Yeah, O'Keefe. When he went after Pfizer, that's when his board ditched him.
Right.
And it's like, you poked a hornet's nest.
Right.
And well, then we need to keep poking that nest, because that means there's something even bigger there.
Right.
And there's a lot of stuff. And I want to see Daily Wire dig into that stuff. I'm not saying that these mockumentaries aren't good. They absolutely are. I completely agree with 3.5 stars. What Is a Woman went deeper into the evil nature of that ideology, and I thought it did a better job than this one did. But I know Daily Wire has the capability and the talent to do that, and that's what I want from them in their next docuseries or documentary. If they would go deep embedded into some of these corporations and get some of this
and
dirt,
I'm not
I would love it.
disagreeing. To me, I think what they've accomplished with both of these two movies. And
Oh, yeah.
What they've been able to. It's like two sides of the same coin, because it's like you said.
I don't think people will be as entertained by something like that.
Well,
But I think they're
that,
entertained by this.
To me, it's like you said. I think it's a movement,
A collective, yeah.
And I think the fact that you have O'Keefe, even Steven Crowder's doing it now,
Yeah.
where you have these people who are kind of going undercover, I think it's good, because again, they're kind of the more micro scale, whereas Daily Wire is a little bit more macro. And I think
why I think they
even
would do
with
it
like,
better.
I don't know. I think sometimes that bodes well to where they can still shine a light on it in this way. Because like one thing I've liked about Daily Wire in terms of dipping their toe in the entertainment is that they've been very. I mean, this is clearly straddling that line of entertainment with the political ideology, but it showcases that how paramount culture is. And I think it's not that those other things aren't important. I just think that Daily Wire's motive is about entertainment first, at least from their entertainment brand. And of course, then you have Daily Wire News, where you're going to get the long form discussion, or even some of their specials that I've seen. Like, I recently started watching the Foundations of the West, and it's definitely much more dense, much more, you're hearing Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson walk through Israel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely much more historic based, like, not something that, like you said, I'm going to sit down and pop popcorn to. And I think that's where what's good about these movies, and especially even the difference between like What Is a Woman and Am I Racist, I think where they did well was, again, you're right, the What Is a Woman is a much more direct approach of saying this is a vile, vicious movement that was started with predatory behavior, and it has devolved into absolute madness and complete. I mean, you have to completely deny reality.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just an absolute ridiculous notion. Whereas racism, the reason I think you can be a little bit more lighthearted is because Everybody knows who grew up in the 90s. We were the least racist country. We had come so far since Jim Crow America 50 years before that we were living the best life of any country. Still are, but we now have devolved into pretending to be the most radically racist country in the world, which is absolutely absurd. We're the most diverse country in the world. Diverse in terms of not just skin color, but ideologies
People
as
from
well.
all over the world wouldn't be coming here if this was the most racist
100%.
nation. Yeah.
And that's why I think this movie, in taking a little bit more of a lighthearted approach, is kind of saying like, hey, this is not one of our main threats today. And that's why we're just exposing all of these people
I can see that.
who have jumped on this bandwagon to make money off of it. How ridiculous the notion is that no, these clearly are grifters. These are clearly people who are just trying to pawn you off on feeling guilty about your having white guilt and somehow making a buck off of you. It's completely
I hope
predatory.
something comes from it, just like with What Is a Woman. I mean, Vanderbilt had to shut down their gender reassignment surgeries on minors completely.
Yeah.
Single-handedly because of Matt Walsh and What Is a Woman.
Yeah.
And taking that to the state, to Tennessee legislature.
We've
that's
kind
action.
of talked about it a little bit in terms of other stories and even in Hollywood in general. I mean, we're starting to see, I think, remnants of whether it's game studios. I mean, heck, we've heard about the disastrous fallout with, Star Wars Outlaws or Concord from PlayStation, who's eating the money. Because, again, this is all woke trash garbage of pushing DEI initiatives to the forefront. And then when they have to rest on their laurels and you realize, like, they can't succeed. So what ends up happening is you have these major multi-million-dollar, budgets for these, things that are supposed to bring in a hell of a lot more than they cost to make, and they're nowhere near it.
Yeah.
And so these companies, these major production houses, I think, are starting to realize, like, we can't keep wasting money on it. We have to make a buck. And that's where you're getting... honestly, maybe this is a good time to go into our headlines, because this is what I think we're going to talk about with our box office a little bit and how surprising it is. So, yeah, let's just roll that open. Yeah, let's talk about it a little bit, because I think this is kind of the unsung hero. I kind of talked about it a little bit at the top of the show there with, talking about Inside Out 2 and it escaping some of the, LGBTQ activism that was going on there. But even with the highest grossing film for the second week in a row, being Beetlejuice, which we all reviewed last week, and we all were pleasantly surprised with how closely tied in terms of atmosphere, in terms of feeling, in terms of jokes, it felt like the original.
Yeah.
And even other surprises. I mean, Alien Romulus was much more akin to Alien and Aliens.
I enjoyed it.
It's like the Coneheads. I will enjoy it.
The Twisters. Something that was more akin to the
I've
original.
Watched that like 3 times at home. Since
Really?
It's a
downloaded
fun movie.
Yeah.
Okay, how have you thought about it in terms of multiple viewings? Like, have you enjoyed it each time?
No, I watched it with my oldest son. Wanted to see it, and I was like, it's a pretty clean movie. It's that there's no sex, there's no innuendo, there's not even. I mean, it's just it's
I was actually ticked
violent,
the
but
cussing,
the
kiss out.
kissing,
Cut the cussing.
They cut the cussing.
I was sick.
No, I mean there's a few choice words in it, but no, he loved it. I've watched it. I'm trying to get my wife to watch it because she keeps hearing things from her friends saying like, no, it was actually a pretty good movie. She's like, she hated the first movie, which that's my wife. She doesn't care about movies about tornadoes or anything like that. I think it's cool. But no, I have enjoyed it all 3 times I've watched it. I think it, in terms of the story, I like the story better than the original. I just don't think the story is as well.
It's not as memorable a movie.
I think there's more going on in the story in the second movie, instead of just straightforward, this is our objective, we're going after tornadoes to get this. You got the whole land buying insurance scam thing going on in the background and all that kind of stuff, and I'm okay with that. It's not over my head or anything like that. I just it would have been better if it was just, let's see if we can destroy a tornado.
It's a little more convoluted than what you see with Glenn Powell and what he's doing.
It's fun. It's an adventure. I think the characters are work well together. The Glenn Powell and I can't think of her name now, but
Daisy.
Daisy something. So they have good chemistry together, and the fact that it doesn't get like overtly sexual and it's just them. Yeah, they're falling in love with each other, but it's done in a tasteful way, and it's just a fun movie. So yeah, it's one of those movies that I've continued to watch, not as much as Dune, but yeah, no, I love it.
I think
Daisy
Edgar
Jones,
yeah. I think it was my review last week where I mentioned how this year has actually been kind of a pleasant surprise in the fact that I think most people expected, with the amount of movies that had been coming out that was just nothing but agenda and woke garbage one after the other.
Yeah.
And then you had the strikes happen. And I think a lot of people just assumed this year was between the strikes and the fact that Hollywood can't stop making garbage, that people just wrote this year off as, well, it's not going to be a good year because Hollywood can't make good movies, and now there's strikes, so they're really not going to make a good movie.
and it's not just been sequels. I mean,
No,
sure, we've
no.
had Dune.
Fall Guy was great.
Yeah, the Fall Guy is
was
another
great.
one I've watched multiple
Long
times.
Legs was good, and
Long Legs,
it was definitely a surprise in terms of the box office numbers, for especially considering how much money it took to make that movie. But I mean, of course you do have. It wasn't just the tentpole films.
Yeah.
I mean, even Beetlejuice was not expected to do as well as it's doing, and the fact that like we mentioned again at the top of the show, that Tim Burton was like, no, I don't want it going to a streaming service. I want it theatrically released. I want there to be some like love behind this film, because I hate to say it, but inherently, whether you're a filmmaker or even just a normal consumer anymore, you kind of inherently know it's not that movies on streaming services can't be bad. It's just they become a dime a dozen.
They become direct-to-video, basically. Like when you go into Walmart and you have
higher quality.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like going to Walmart and there's Aladdin 2. It's like straight to VHS. It's like, and that's what.
Was there an Aladdin too?
Yeah, there's 3 Aladdin
Oh my
movies.
gosh.
Yeah, Aladdin 2
No,
and
I
3 are
didn't know
great.
that.
Those
King
are
of Thieves.
Yeah, that's the third one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Return of Jafar was the second one.
I've
Those were
never
the
seen
only direct-to-video Disney sequels that were any good, were the Aladdin
I
ones.
thought it was
Really?
clever
The rest of them were terrible.
that they did Lion King 1.5.
That one wasn't bad either.
I thought that was clever.
That one wasn't bad either.
But
now
yeah.
the Little Mermaid and Cinderella sequels, those are terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have a Cinderella too,
Beetlejuice.
don't they?
They have a Cinderella 2 and 3.
Oh wow.
Yeah. One of them involves time travel.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably still going to be better than what Disney's making with that Snow
Oh no,
White.
for sure. Actually, it's all of their terrible direct-to-video sequels are still better than the live-action adaptations. So,
But Sean, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I was just going to say, do you think Beetlejuice would have done a little bit better if they would have pinned it closer to Halloween?
Oddly, I can't say that now because, I mean, look how well it is doing.
No, I'm just saying, do you think
they-
it could have been better if they would have pushed it towards that season, since
think
it's
they-
based around that
they
season?
timed it right because September kind of is the stuff for a lot of people who love Halloween and love that season. September kind of is the beginning of that season.
Actually, I was commenting about this today at work with a coworker. I was just saying that I'm kind of annoyed that, September now is becoming the day or the month where I start to see like Halloween decorations.
I'm
go
okay
up.
with fall decorations.
Fall
but
is fine,
Halloween,
but I'm
no.
seeing like skeletons.
Yeah.
and,
Oh, yeah,
like
no.
somebody like.
I
Yeah.
decorate in September. I start decorating. I
What?
always have.
Do you have yours up now?
Not yet.
Well then you're still well behind other
yeah.
people who
I
had
do,
theirs
I do
up.
wait until like towards the end of September. Yes, when you start like the beginning of September, I agree is a little much.
I doubt they watch the show, and since somebody knows where I live, who cares? But I swear, I walked Edie the other day, and I'm like, well, this would have been 2 weeks ago, like September 1st, honestly, probably end of August, and there was a house on my street that already had Halloween decorations
Yeah,
out.
I wouldn't go
like,
that
and
far.
I was just like, okay, again, culture tells you a lot. Culture's downstream of politics, but in my mind, I'm sitting here because I follow these things. My first thought, though, is just like, people don't even decorate for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it. It's cold outside. Maybe it's a little harder to get outside and put up your Christmas lights. But it's like, there's like this fever pitch in the air of celebrating Halloween a lot more extravagantly than even Christmas anymore.
I don't get that though because I see people.
But you're one of the
I do
difference.
both.
Exactly.
But I mean I do know plenty of other people and see other decorations like Christmas. People start putting up stuff for Christmas in November. That's no different than putting up stuff for Halloween in September.
I would say November around Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
But
which
the
gives you a
day
good
after
month.
Thanksgiving is
that's
usually when-
true. Like that's when I do.
But I don't see it at the beginning of November.
I have not
Really?
not everybody, but I don't see it any like Halloween any more than that in Christmas either.
I was gonna say
Like,
I
I've
can kind
noticed
of
a few
agree.
houses.
I mean, I think this early you're gonna see the house every now and then that already has their Halloween, but you're not gonna see the neighborhood full of Halloween
No,
stuff yet.
no.
But it's the same way with Christmas. I don't feel like you see the neighborhoods that you used to drive to when you
Yeah.
were younger to go see Christmas lights.
That's right.
They don't do it anymore at Christmas hardly at all. And if they do, it's not until December that they're putting that stuff
But
up.
I feel that way about holidays in general. I don't feel like people decorate for Halloween
they-
much
I don't-
anymore
yeah.
either.
I never
sadly.
did. My
So-
parents always had up fall decorations,
Yeah.
and I remember them always doing it. Typically, I mean, again, I understood it from not as a kid, but as I got older, I was like, oh, well, you don't want to just put it out for a couple weeks. If you're going to
Yeah.
go through the trouble of getting it
it's
out,
a lot of work. Yeah.
you actually do want to have time to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it was usually middle to end of September. Like
Yeah.
right now, understandably.
Yeah. No, I
mean-
I agree. I wouldn't, like, I wouldn't go, like, it's September, let's start.
But I'm telling you, this was end of August.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And I'm like, I saw at least 2 houses that were completely decorated for Halloween. And I'm like, guys, like, we're not even, like, football hasn't even started.
But I mean, I literally watched Nightmare on Elm Street 3 the other day just because, like, this, like, for me, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for some spooky stuff. Like,
See, and now
Yeah.
when this comes to Halloween movies,
Yeah.
I strictly wait till
yeah,
October.
nah.
Because there's plenty on, and I'm just like, I
But
don't
see,
know.
I'm someone who'll
Again,
watch horror movies year round too, because, like, well, the original Beetlejuice was released in March.
Well,
The original
okay.
Hocus Pocus was in, I think, July. So it's like it's not always like I get it. There's sometimes, I mean,
And even then, though, I don't know, horror movies, it's not that necessarily you have to have that be a Halloween thing, especially in terms of release.
Yeah.
But I don't rewatch, or I don't typically watch, especially when it comes to like the slasher or the classic horror movies. I don't watch those until October.
I watch them just kind of like on an off chance, but when I start binging those movies is
yeah.
around
I mean,
Halloween.
I don't binge horror except for around Halloween.
And
but
it's only really the classic horror movies that people
Associate with Halloween?
Associate with Halloween,
Yeah.
and by that I mean the things that people dress up as for Halloween. I know, like Friday the 13th has nothing to do with Halloween. Neither does Nightmare on Elm Street. Neither one of them take place on Halloween.
No.
But people dress up as those characters for Halloween. So those are the films that I end up watching. I watched Barbarian last night. So it's not. I'm not
Which is
opposed
crazy,
to
'cause
watching a horror movie.
Right,
in
and
the-
I wouldn't
in the middle
consider
of the
that
year,
like
but-
Long Legs. I wouldn't necessarily consider a
Yeah.
Halloween movie.
Yeah.
But it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
I mean, The Conjuring or
Well, and I enjoy horror in
Insidious.
general, just in the
And
winter, because I know something about being cold and pitch black outside and it's
There you
dark
go.
in your
I like
house.
it.
Like, I love horror movies during the
You're
winter.
one of the people proving my point now of how much more demonic our country is becoming. Keith.
I don't think
dark
so.
and macabre.
I've always been that
I'm
since
joking.
the 90s.
I know you've always enjoyed things that go bump in the night. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But to me, like I said, I'm becoming more disturbed simply because it was like you had distinct holiday. I mean, even Thanksgiving to a degree, I was lumped in with Christmas because in my mind it was like we always had our family over on Christmas.
See, now that feels like a slap in the face to Thanksgiving. Give it its due. It's not Christmas. It's Thanksgiving.
To me, it was definitely what kicked off the Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
I mean,
When people say the
yeah,
holidays, I think of Thanksgiving and Christmas. I
Exactly.
don't think of
Yeah.
Halloween.
exactly.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. I've always October, November, just like always
Yeah.
New Year's, like all
you
four.
lump Halloween in with the holidays?
Yeah, it's the holidays: Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. The
Wow.
holidays.
No, I don't.
All four of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
holiday
yet. I don't
derives
know.
from the word holy day, and I mean, well, I guess you could say Halloween. I mean, it's
It's holy to somebody.
day right before All Saints Day.
Yeah,
It's
Saints
November 1st, and then
I do think there
All
are
Hallows Eve.
more people that go all out for Halloween more than Christmas now. I do feel like that's something that I'm beginning to see, that people, if their yards are decorated, they put way more effort into putting up spider webs and things in the front yard and stuff than they do Christmas.
same.
Yeah, I just yeah.
And
I
it's
think
it's not
Christmas
that I
is-
don't see the houses that do both,
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
ones that here and there will go crazy for Halloween, and an opposite one in another neighborhood that goes crazy for Christmas.
Christmas,
yeah.
I know of 2 right now I can think of, and it's way too much that no one should do.
Back on topic.
This,
though.
Yeah, I know.
This conversation was
We got into it because I mean, look, the idea
Beetlejuice.
of Beetlejuice being
Well, this one
released
actually
now,
is set during Halloween.
but I also think it's a good precursor.
Yeah.
I think it's one that I like seeing come out at this time because if one, it's doing well at the box office enough that I think it's going to stick through Halloween.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I think they might have, consciously put it out there at the, released it at the time it did, hoping it would do well for that reason, but also putting it ahead of enough of the October season that if it didn't, or if it did just well enough that it was like, we already know now, it's just become the norm that, usually 30 days and you're out of the theaters.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I think because it's doing so well, it's going to get plenty of long enough run in the box office, especially through Halloween, which was like the best case scenario. Worst case was like, hey, we do okay, but we can come out at the beginning of October on streaming services, available for everybody to rent. And next thing you know, you're renting Beetlejuice for Halloween.
Yeah.
And you'll get tons of money that way. And I think actually both are probably going to happen. Because I think even today or yesterday it was announced Deadpool Wolverine
October 1st.
October 1st is now hitting streaming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think that, I don't know. I think it bode well. I think it was a good move on their part to pinpoint the beginning of September.
I also don't know what kind of competition it would have in the month of October right now, because I don't know what's coming out, but I was just curious if you guys thought that it would have done better if they waited 2 or 3 weeks to release it and
I just think
get it closer to October.
Kind of going back to what Keith was talking about with everything else that was going on last year, and again with no sign of Hollywood returning to normal, quote unquote, it has been these kind of releases that whether that you call them tentpole releases because they're part of a franchise, but ultimately because they just stuck to what the franchise is known for and not strayed too much, not it kind of ixnayed your expectations, subverted your expectations. I think you've had a good mixture of both surprise hits when it came to what you already knew from a franchise, whether it be Dune, whether it be Inside Out 2, whether it be Alien and Beetlejuice. But then you had your other movies or twisters. You had other ones like Fall Guy that didn't do great in the theater, but did well on home release and were good movies. I mean, again, you even had other tentpole releases that weren't, like Mad Max flopped.
Yeah.
You've had your other Despicable Me coming out. That was a big hit. Well, there was another animated movie. Inside Out 2 came out just before it.
Not Garfield.
No,
that one didn't do well.
Actually, you sure it didn't do well?
It did fine. Like, I mean,
Okay,
I don't
yeah.
mean it didn't bomb, but it wasn't a huge, massive success like Inside Out or Despicable Me 2.
No.
No, another one that actually probably, I don't know how it did in comparison to Garfield, but it definitely didn't perform. It was Kung Fu Panda 4 didn't perform as well as.
That came out a little bit earlier too, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like April or something like that.
I think it was March or April.
Yeah.
But it is weird because I mean, these are a lot of franchise films.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of them that are still there, but a lot of most of the ones we've named that we've liked have they differentiated themselves enough to not just be carbon copies of the original, but they didn't destroy what the precedent the original.
Well, they
set.
actually, they felt like they honored the original and they offered something new. It didn't feel like it was only like it didn't. A lot of people complained that didn't like Beetlejuice felt it was just a cash grab, which I disagree with. And I would say that's how all of the sequels, like even Alien Romulus, didn't feel like just a cash grab to me, because I'm sure that's initially how it started. As soon as Disney got the rights from Fox for Alien and Predator, they're like, let's churn out new movies.
Yeah.
The fact that Alien Romulus is good, I'm thankful for. But initially, I'm sure that was just an initial cash grab that just happened to luckily land Fede Alvarez, who could actually make a good movie.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if he continues on that road. But
Well, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, so far.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, box office didn't disappoint. It's been surprisingly, a good turnout for the movies this year, and I think that is something to be thankful for. But also, if Hollywood learns, it is something that they need to take note of, because it's like, as long as you put movies out there that entertain, people will come to the theaters. They will turn up. And maybe there are some that you take risks on and they don't pay off, unfortunately, like Fall Guy, that will still get good word of mouth, or at least hopefully make up for it on home video and home streaming.
Yeah, I feel sorry about that one.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that movie should have done way better. It was such a good movie.
Agreed.
Man.
I know. It sucks that it didn't do well.
Yeah.
But all right, I think we're going to move on to our relationship segment. Believe it or not, we really only had that one major headline. There wasn't a whole lot else. We already talked about Am I Racist cracking the top 5. I mean, you have a few of those unsung heroes too that just kind of came out of nowhere.
I'm surprised
That-
two of the top 10 are Christian movies right now.
Oh yeah,
You have The Forge is number 9, and then of course God's Not Dead.
Yeah.
Whatever
I ain't
one
gonna
that
lie.
is. That's
yeah.
number 10, but
I told
still.
Keith
12,
I didn't
yeah.
even know that movie was coming out.
I
I'm
didn't
just
either.
like,
I didn't. Yeah, when I saw it, I was just like, I didn't even know there was another
Look,
one.
because here's the thing, and this is a great juxtaposition of, again, what we're going to sit here and sing the praises of am I racist, or even other
Yeah.
Daily Wire.
We're not singing the praises of God's Not Dead.
No, and rightfully so. Because I'm sorry, we've talked about it before on the show. It's like I feel like there's no quality in it whatsoever. It is simply a movie for Christians to go out there and pat themselves on the back, or at least feel like they have some sense of penetrating the culture. And
Well,
I
this
just
is-
don't think they.
It's number 4, isn't it?
5.
Is it really?
No, but I was surprised. I thought we were already
I thought
past
there was
5.
God's Not Dead, and then I thought there was one called We the People.
Yeah, that's
There
the fourth
is.
one.
Yeah,
We
that
the
was the
People's
one with
fourth one.
Melissa
Oh.
Joan Hart is
Yeah.
in that one.
Yeah. See, I thought we had already gone past 5. When I saw it was only the 5th one, I was
What's
surprised.
the second one called?
A Light in Darkness. No, that's the third one.
Third
The second one's just God's Not
Not
Dead
Dead
2.
2?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
I think did they bring the kid back? I never saw past the first one. The first one was enough
No,
for me
it's
to be
bad
like,
enough.
this is bad.
Yeah.
I just we
the
first
second.
one-
The
Did we
second,
review
the
that?
second
Are the
one was
Newsboys
Melissa
in
Joan
all of
Hart.
them?
hope not.
I wonder if the
I don't know.
Newsboys.
The second one was Melissa Joan Hart.
Oh, that was the second one? Whoops,
Yes.
my bad. I thought she was in the fourth
The
one.
third one was
one of them. They go to Congress.
that's
We the
that's
People.
a light. That's We the People.
Yeah.
The one guy's in all of them, I think. The pastor guy.
He's the one that's
Oh, yeah.
from the Great Meme.
because
he's
he's,
like,
he's the
Jesus,
one
man.
that he's the one that goes to court.
Jesus,
I think
man.
in the
Yeah.
We the People.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so tired of those movies. We won't give them the time because again, I want to see something quality, and I'm not just gonna go support a Christian movie because I'm Christian. No, I want to see something that provokes me, that again ultimately puts out something that is culturally moving. Even something like we saw the trailer for it at the Am I Racist premiere, the Dinesh D'Souza.
Yeah.
I have nothing against D'Souza. I think he does a great job in terms of rallying his base. His movies are not that entertaining. I went and saw one of his, it was another documentary. He came out way back. I think it was right after the 2020 election, or maybe it would have been before. I can't remember. All I know is I went and saw it with my parents, and it might have actually been before 2016. And of course, it was one of those like, hey, I'm going to rally behind. I'm going to support this because it's not going to get a lot of love.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's just certain movies that come out, and I'm not saying that they're awful, but they're not of the highest quality, and I feel like they're also specifically put out just to stir up the base and just to provoke them. And that's great. That's still needed. I'm not saying there's not a place for that. It's just not something I'm going to promote.
Yeah.
Because I want to actually promote and actually give good word of mouth to something that deserves it and that I know is on the same echelon and of the same par as what I expect to go to pay and sit down in the theater to see.
Some of Angel Studios films we have. I mean, I
Hey,
know
yeah.
we love.
Nefarious was good.
I didn't like that one.
Yeah,
Was
like
that?
that?
I didn't think that
No.
one was Angel Studios though. That
It's
was
not.
Well,
it was
that's-
independent. That was
yeah.
Glenn Beck's. He
That's
bought
right,
the
because
rights.
he was
to
in
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, other than Cabrini, which I haven't seen that you said wasn't. What
I
was
didn't
it?
like Cabrini.
Yeah, I heard that you said that
Sight
one wasn't
was
that good.
okay, and then
Sight wasn't bad.
Sound of
And
Freedom
Sound
was,
of
Oh yeah,
Freedom was
great.
Sound of
great.
Freedom, yeah.
And then
Sound
did
of
they
Freedom
do
was
the
fantastic.
one about that just came out recently a while back? I'm forgetting about the orphanage.
That is Cabrini.
No, like not way.
Oh,
back then.
I don't know what.
I
the
thought there was
title is.
another one that had sound in the title.
It's something like like
Oh, yeah. Because it has it has the woman who played Julia from Lost.
It's about
in
the
it.
family that adopted all the.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard that one was good too. I just have not seen it. And you're right. I thought it had sound.
It's called like Sound of something.
Sound
of Hope?
Sound of Hope, I think. Is
yeah,
what it's
yeah.
called.
I think that's what it was. Sound of Hope.
Yeah, that's available on our streaming site right now.
Because that one,
Or
Our
streaming
streaming
site.
Possum
yeah.
Trot. That's what it was. Possum Trot.
The
Yeah,
story
yeah,
of Possum
That's
Trot.
not the name of the movie.
No, that's
But
the
yeah,
name of the
yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Possum Trot's
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, that one I haven't checked out, but it came out around July 4th.
Yeah.
And they were provoking the same kind of, same exact thing that they were doing with Sound of Freedom a year ago. And,
Yeah.
I mean, not that it was a bad movie. I just, again, even to that degree, not saying that there's not a place for those stories to be told. Or the movie I mentioned, Sight, I went and saw with my parents in theaters, and it was a good movie, but there were parts where it lulled, or there were parts where you could definitely see they were hindered by the production budget, or they cut corners, or they made certain decisions where I was like, okay, they were trying to be a little bit too, like for instance, I was intrigued by Cabrini's story, and I felt like production value was top notch. I felt like the story lacked. I felt like there was not enough motivation. It wasn't as riveting as I would put it on par with, and this is to compare it to a secular film, it was on par with The Boys in the Boat, which was directed by George Clooney movie. I watched that with my parents one night, and it was okay, but nothing you hadn't seen before in terms of a uplifting
That's
sports.
why I haven't seen it, because the trailer looked like just like you did. Like,
generic.
When I saw Boys in the Boat, I was like, didn't look bad, but it just
it is something that would have been released circa 2002. And it would have been great back then.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, we've since moved on. You got to give me something more that I'm gonna salivate over when I see these films. And I
do want to see Reagan.
I
do want to see that.
And
it's
again,
done well too.
Yeah, it has. And that talk about a grassroots effort, and having a star power like Dennis Quaid and him getting the word of mouth out there. But more so to support it. But I'm sure it's because I'm intrigued to see how they handle that story.
Yeah.
And it's sad because there are talents out there in Hollywood that could easily handle these stories and do them justice. I mean, I honestly think, again, it's not political, but I think of Apollo 13. And I actually found out recently, I forget, it was an article I read somewhere, it was talking about movies that were actually secretly funded by the government for like positive propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, questionable to some degree that, it's like taxpayer dollars are going towards this.
Yeah. Make us look good.
Apollo 13 is one of those movies where I'm like, okay, of all the stories though, in terms of talk about heroism and what you would, again, positive reinforcement for your society of really trying to wrap your head around being on the edge of, space age discovery. I mean, you could tell a story like Damien Chazelle did with First Man, which is a riveting story. But when you take something like what it took to bring those three men home from a horrendous, faulty accident that could have killed them in space, and just that simple line of, we haven't lost a human in space, we're not going to lose one on my watch. Yeah, it's just, you have a riveting story right there, and the way Ron Howard directs it, Apollo 13 is top notch.
Great movie.
Fantastic movie. And I think of movies like that where I'm just like, you take these, there's plenty of moments like that in history that you can really shine a light on and do some wonders with it, with really top-notch directors and actors. And I just feel like we've lost the luster for that. Yeah. There is no amazement in it anymore. Like, part of me when I'm watching Apollo 13 is I know that Ron Howard is directing that movie because he's a little boy again, seeing the landing on the moon and being riveted by that, and you see it come to life through that movie and that spectacle.
I agree. No, that is, I think it's something we have lost in Hollywood from a lot. I think there are the filmmakers still out there that still have that mindset, and those are the ones still making good movies. But yeah, because even when you look at people like Spielberg, who did Jaws, who did Jurassic Park, who did so many amazing movies, and you could see, like you said, that wonder behind those films. Even like the whole idea, like we quoted all the time, like you were too busy trying to figure out whether or not you could to stop and think whether or not you should, blah, blah, blah. Like that whole mindset you could see permeates throughout Jurassic Park, and you can kind of see that fascination. Like, Spielberg was fascinated by those concepts because it shows in film. But then when you watch...
Hell, Scorsese.
Yes.
You could see him being completely riveted by just gangster stories and movies like Goodfellas and Casino.
You could tell those are passion projects.
You see Killers of the Flower Moon, and it's just like, this is just you adapting a book in the most boring way.
Because it's no longer a passion project. It's, this is what society and Hollywood thinks is important, that like I need to tell this story about Killers of the Flower Moon and what happened to these people. It's not a passion project anymore. In his head, he thinks it is because what he's doing is important.
I would. You gotta argue though. Kevin Costner has a passion project too, and his wasn't that great.
I'll give
So
you
it's like
that.
sometimes the passion projects
You have to have
don't
talent.
turn out that good.
You have to have talent to go with the passion.
Yeah, 'Cause Horizon Part 1 is not that good. It's
That's
okay, but it's not that good.
I agree. That is
Agreed.
100% a passion project
Yeah.
of his. But yeah.
I was thinking it would be better because it was a passion project, but he didn't have a whole lot of passion.
No, or he just it's
Or
a
didn't.
mile wide on an inch.
Yeah, I think he had
Yeah.
a lot
Spread
of
too thin.
passion. He
Yeah.
just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
He was throwing everything at the wall to see what stuck. It was bad. But no, ultimately, I agree. I just feel like we're at a loss right now of seeing Hollywood greats kind of give in to just the humdrum. Like there isn't any kind of or there isn't this inviting spirit anymore about the luster of filmmaking and actually being happy and jovial about using that medium to tell riveting stories. Because I think we do live in a very downtrodden period, unfortunately, and I think culture is definitely upstream from politics, but I really do think you have a lot of nihilistic thinking out there just in general that's invaded the society and had this very kind of apathetic mentality about it's either quick dopamine rushes from instant gratification from these devices we carry around in our pocket to I'm not ready to sit here and actually cultivate and really think on some of these ideas that were being told through cinema, but in such a riveting way that it touched you in both ways. I mean, I forget, Michael Knowles was bringing this up on a show the other day. He was like, I forget, he said it was a philosopher who brought it up. He was like, yeah, it's good to know the lyrics of songs because he's like, it's dangerous when you're listening to something because music cuts right to the soul.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't pay attention to what you're singing along to, you'll realize you're starting to, kind of, you're dancing to the beat of that drum. And it's like, and next thing you know, you're just falling in line with what has permeated the culture and what has become, the thought of the day. And again, that's why I champion these people who are out there fighting it. I'm not just going to ridicule God's Not Dead because it's another it's that same guy who's just making them.
Yeah.
But my challenge is to go out there and challenge him to make something different, and
Yeah.
make something better that pushes the medium forward, not just make something that people are expecting or Christian audiences are going to show up and be like, now I feel good about myself and I'm supporting the Christian cause. It's just a little surface level. And again, it takes all kinds. So I'm not going to fault him for that. I'm not going to be buying a ticket anytime soon. All right, now we're moving
Yeah.
into our relationship segment.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above.
It's been a while since I did that. I just thought of doing it right there
That was
in the moment.
delayed.
The wow.
Yeah, that was delayed.
It was. I hit
You
it.
pushed
and-
that button. It was like 2 seconds later.
Really?
Yeah.
I hit it in response to your, and it didn't pop up. Like,
Yeah.
Oh.
like I waited till the music on
I
this
say
was
maybe
over.
maybe the music file wasn't. It
Maybe
was not done.
I mean, I waited till I couldn't hear it
There was
anymore,
a
but
little
maybe it
silence
was.
at the end of it.
was, yeah.
I don't know.
All I know is I
Yeah.
did upgrade to Sequoia, so I'm on the latest Mac OS.
Well, that's
That
probably the
could be
problem.
it. What'd you
do? Yeah, that was
that was-
delayed too, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah.
That had a little bit of a delay.
And I just updated the Stream Deck too. I didn't have to open it though
No,
tonight.
no,
It
you
just
didn't.
worked.
You didn't. You just.
It just worked.
It just worked
Yeah.
again. All right.
So what's our relationships?
Okay.
We're talking about your relationship with your extended family. We've talked a lot about our immediate family. We always do. Typically, best friends. But what about your extended family? How close are you with them? Do you see them often? Do you only see them at family reunions or the holidays? Like that weird holiday, Halloween.
That's like, yeah, me and my family get
Oh,
together.
just go
on
trick or
Halloween
treating.
every year.
Never, like, I mean, we do go to like my parents and eat chili, and my sister takes like her kids trick or treating in their neighborhood. But that's like me and my sister and her kids and my mom.
That's
and
your
dad.
immediate
That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
we don't. I think that's kind of odd if someone like I'm sure someone out there probably does, but it'd be odd to me.
Now, when I first
invite all your aunts and uncles and cousins and
when I first moved, well, I could see it as like if you had a farm.
if you did like a
doing
Halloween,
like a hayride.
well, if you were
and
doing like a Halloween
yeah.
party, yes. But I mean, I guess I guess if you do a Halloween party on Halloween, so I'll eat my words.
Actually,
I just-
you and Miranda came with me.
You
to
did?
one
To
to my
your-
aunt and uncle's.
Yeah.
My aunt,
I didn't think that was actually on
Aunt
Halloween.
Linda and Uncle
though.
David. No, it was
Yeah.
it was around Halloween though.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
definitely a Halloween party.
We don't do a Halloween party on Halloween because then you can't take your kids trick or treating.
Right. But no, I also remember when we first moved off the street, my
Yeah.
parents would drive me over to the street so I could trick or treat the old neighborhood, but also we could go trick or treat together.
Back
So, I
then,
mean,
the
that's
old
kinda like
neighborhood was
extended
safe. Yeah.
family.
Yeah. You didn't have to worry about, well, there were still some people that was like, don't go to their
Don't
house.
go to that house.
Yeah.
Now you got to worry about what candy you open because
Well,
it's got fentanyl in it.
And my dad still checked
Razor
the candy,
blades.
but you're right. Back then, it was like you're checking for a razor blade,
Yeah.
not something you can't detect.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Yeah, the other day they were talking about like don't eat any candy that's not in a heat sealed
Yeah,
package.
that's not
like
sealed.
Tootsie Rolls are rolled up. Don't eat those. Like
Wow,
that's what
really?
they're finding fentanyl and stuff like that in
This is
the
sick,
candies that you
man.
can twist tight
This
because
is
they
what
can
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They can retwist
they
them.
can retwist them. Yeah,
It's
I'm
just-
still gonna eat. Oh, I don't like
throw all
Tootsie.
that stuff
I
away.
was gonna say I'm still gonna eat them, but I'm like, no, I won't because I don't like Tootsie Rolls.
yeah.
Just
They're
crazy,
gross.
though.
They're not even real chocolate. If they were actually little pieces of chocolate, I might be
What
okay
the hell
with
are
them.
they?
I don't look.
Have you eaten one? Like it's not.
I know
chocolate.
it doesn't taste like chocolate, but I didn't know it wasn't chocolate.
It doesn't even have the texture of chocolate. It's
All
like
right,
a
all right,
little
look,
like
look,
taffy.
look,
It's
look,
chocolate flavored taffy,
look,
is what
look.
it is.
You're making me sick.
Tootsie Rolls.
It's a chocolate flavored taffy.
It is. It is. I would definitely consider it a taffy.
Cocoa
but I'm going to
flavored.
show some love here.
Okay.
It's not something I go for on a regular basis, but Halloween is the one time of the year where I'm like, Tootsie Rolls are
You eat
good.
candy corn too?
Oh,
I like candy corn.
I like
Do you
candy
really?
corn. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I can do candy corn. I don't like. I used to eat when I was a kid. I ate Tootsie Rolls, but
Now, look,
I don't.
I don't-
we got on another tangent.
know.
We didn't get back on the relationships.
Extended family.
Hey, look,
Yeah.
I'm saying it now, and I probably won't remember it. We'll come back to this topic during Halloween.
Okay.
How
All
about
right.
that? We'll
we
talk
need
about
to talk about candy. We did that
Let's have a whole
once,
debate on Halloween
but not
candy.
like this.
I don't think
so-
we did a deep dive.
Yeah, we need to talk about we talked about our favorite candy, not Halloween candy.
All
we need
I'm
to
saying
discuss Halloween
is
candy.
there are some things that I only consider to be Halloween candy that I'm like, all right, I'm in the mood for that now because it's that time of
Yeah,
year.
no, I agree with that.
I mean,
Just
it's
not
like
Tootsie
it's like
Rolls.
peanut brittle. I don't really like it unless it's around Christmas.
Yeah,
I'll eat some
yeah,
peanut.
I don't
brittle,
eat. Yeah, you're right.
You know.
Okay.
All right, we don't have to talk about that. Let's talk about families.
Family.
How
Extended
close are you with your
family.
extended family?
A lot closer when I was a child, but not really at all anymore. I would suppose. I don't really see. I mean, I would do
Agreed.
around like Christmas, and we have a reunion in the summer. So like, I do still see extended family, but generally it's only around Christmas now. Every now and then I'll still reach out to Ty. I wish I did it more, just because me and Ty were a lot closer, and that's something I can work on. But as far as the rest of my extended family, it's like, yeah, I mean, I see really like my brothers, my sister, my nieces, my nephews, and that's as far out as it really goes
Yeah.
on a regular basis.
And they're like within your vicinity.
Yeah,
they're,
yeah, they are very
they're-
close.
Yeah, it's not just immediate family, but they're also close. Family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, with the exception of like Neil, just because they moved away, like obviously we don't see each other as often, but when we do, it's fine. It's not like we don't know each other anymore or anything like that. My dad's side of the family, and this is kind of weird now that I'm thinking about it, but on both my mom's and my dad's side of my family, my grandfathers were the anchor beings. To pull back from
Yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay, that's what I was saying, the anchor
They
being,
literally
that's where they-
were like when my dad's dad died and when my mom's dad died, that was when we no longer got together for Christmas as a family. And it wasn't immediate, but within 3 years, it was like the Sebastian family. Like there's obviously my cousins, they get together because they're siblings, but they don't. We don't all get together anymore. I've got nephews and probably nieces that I don't even know. I've never met. Might never meet them. So there's, but then like on my mom's side of the family, when my grandfather died, people moved away. They used to travel to come in for Christmas, but once Pop died, it was like they don't come anymore, and we don't see them. It's like I haven't seen my cousins Alex and Chris in years. The only time I actually see them is at a funeral, if they come in for a funeral. So it's literally yeah, I don't see extended family very much anymore. But that's now that I look back on it, it's like once those two men,
Yeah.
that's why I referred to them as anchor beings. They were the tent pole of the family.
Yeah.
Once they died, everybody just dispersed and went their own ways, and that's
Definitely
sad,
a
but-
similar situation, especially like with my mom's side of the family. When my grandmother died, like a huge rift just kind of started to form, and I still saw like my grandfather and my uncles, and I still see my uncle Ricky pretty regularly, honestly too. But he lives close by and stops by my mom and sisters quite often, so I run into him there. But outside of that, it's kind of like that rift began when my grandmother died, and then I think when my grandfather passed, like really, it's just my Uncle Ricky that really we hear from now. So I mean, and I mean that does happen. I think with families sometimes and some like whether it's good or ill. I mean, I think sometimes like life just happens, and when you're trying to raise your own family,
Yeah.
and if you do move further, like if you're out of state, that's so much harder as well when you're raising your family
That's
in
true,
one
too.
state and you have family in another state. So I do understand that. And then my dad's family is always, they're just so large too. So you always have pockets and groups that see each other more often than others, I think. But yeah, I think a lot of times, like Sean's saying, is like when you have like those figureheads or patriarchs that kind of pass, I think the families kind of split and start forming their own families as well. So
That's what I think it ultimately becomes. I mean,
yeah.
my Aunt Linda and Uncle David on my mom's side were Aunt Linda definitely. That's my mom's sister. She, before she passed, no doubt was the one that was always setting up the family reunions. Would always make sure at least once, more often than not, twice or three times a year, plan something for us to get together. And thankfully, I will say that even since my Aunt Linda's passing, which has been it's crazy to think this, it's been over 10 years now up to this point.
Yeah.
But I know that even now, still my mom gets together with her two other sisters. They get together almost weekly to get, to again commune and and
that's
catch
awesome,
up. But it's weird that it's like, my dad's side of the family, my Aunt Judy and Aunt Corrine, which my Aunt Corrine has passed, but we used to go to the same church, the church that I grew up in. We all went together. And so I saw them almost on a weekly basis. And then they would come over and visit, especially in the summertime. I remember them coming over, when I lived on the old
Brackenbury,
street.
yeah.
And I remember they would be over for, pool volleyball and we've got Polaroids of pictures in the backyard and like us doing human pyramids. And it just, fun times that it's like as a kid, you're just kind of part of it, don't really think nothing of it or that it's special. But like you said, I think it's not only just when those, anchor beings kind of, pass away or move on, but I also think too, my brother and sister, we've all talked about this communally because both my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, their families are from out of state. So we all live here locally. I mean, in Shepherdsville, E-Town, but in Louisville, but close proximity with, relative to where most people live. And we talked about that kind of, even as they got married and started having kids was, are our families going to be, close and tight knit as we were growing up? Because even though we had those moments with our extended family, we also were close as a family unit. My mom and dad fought very hard to make sure that, we grew up and did things as a family and went on vacations as a family. And it was just, it's become one of those things where now that has kind of, transitioned into, okay, well, we all still get together. And, heck, this past Sunday, it's like, yeah, my brother and sister-in-law weren't there, but, they were busy with something else. But my sister and brother-in-law were over and we were all at my parents and we were playing Switch golf. And, it's like still get together on a regular basis. We're going to Louisville Georgia Tech game this weekend, and we're doing that as a family event. And so we still definitely find times, even amongst the busy schedules, and as the families have grown and gotten bigger. I mean, it's weird, but even being on the dating scene now, I'm like, it's kind of how your values change with where you are at in your life. And in my mind, I'm like, well, obviously I got to marry somebody that I know is going to fit in with my family. It's like Jeff and Wendy I've known now for well over a decade. Yeah. They've been entrenched in the family. It's like they are brother and sister. That's like, it's one and the same. So having somebody that still fits our dynamic and just kind of easily slides right in there, that's it's a challenge, but it's it's going to be mandatory because you know
Yeah, right.
you got to be with my family because we're close. So it is weird how, like you said, I think it changes because the idea of extended family when you're younger obviously morphs and changes into when you have your own family when you grow up, and now it's like, oh, the extended family is my kids' extended family.
But basically, yeah, because I spent plenty of times with my cousins when I was younger, as did like my sister and such. But now it's about like her kids start spending time with their cousins and their because it's like we hang out with you know our nieces and nephews who have kids, so it's like that's where I think the extended family comes into play now. Just like when we go over to David's to watch wrestling, it's like I mean we're almost all of us are there, so it's like that may be my immediate family, my brother, my sister, brother-in-law, but when you add in like you know Charles and Hunter and like Charles's kids and the fact that Miranda has kids, and it's like that is their extended family. So
I mean it's weird because definitely, like I said, it probably spent the night most of the time over at my aunt's house when I was younger. But even then, like, you know, Davey was much older than me, my cousin, and he was definitely much closer to, like, Chip and Amber in age. But oddly, it's like, you know, it's weird because, not in a bad way, but just seeing, like, even my two siblings' families constantly are over at each other's houses or staying the night or over at my parents' house, so they're grandparents. And it was like I remember staying at my grandma's. She was the only grandparent I had growing up. Was just my grandma on my mom's side. So then it was weird to see that it was like I would stay over there with Chip and Amber, you know, with my own two siblings, but never really with any others. But now I'm like seeing my parents, who are the grandparents, they have my nieces and nephews over, and they're staying over there overnight, and it's like they're all meshed together and are all friends, and it's just it's crazy to see that, you know, that family dynamic change, but in a, you know, a cool, interesting way that it wasn't necessarily the same for me, but now I can tell like how much of a huge impact it is for them and the memories that they're creating and what they're growing up with.
I wish my kids had that. Like I had the cousins growing up. We were all really close until people went separate ways. But it's like I don't have any siblings, so the only brother I've ever had lives 1,000 miles away. My sister-in-law doesn't have kids, so my kids are growing up with no cousins, like other than long distance. And there's cousins here in Kentucky that just, you know, they just don't really have anything to do with us. So they have cousins here that they, you know, don't even know about. So yeah, I do feel sorry for them in that regard, that they don't have any cousins or people in the family, other kids in the family to play with. I had that growing up, and I would have had a lot more if I wasn't an only child. But yeah, like I said, again, after Papa and Pop left this earth, it was everybody just
kind of went their own
way, and so it's like we don't really have that closeness anymore.
Well, and turnabout in a weird way, it's like then heck, growing up right across the street from Keith, and then it's like, I mean, pretty much just call your brother anyway, because it's like it's been around that long. But
I don't know you.
Thank God for my church, honestly, because we've made so many friends at church that have kids our age,
right?
That it's the only kids that my kids get to hang out with are people from church.
Yeah.
So they do have other children to play with and to grow up with.
Yes.
It's just not family. Yeah. It's a different kind of family.
Yeah.
So.
And I was gonna say same thing with even the church I'm in. It's like obviously I'm not married and I don't have kids, but my brother and sister-in-law definitely like are very involved in our church. I mean, I go to the same one as them, and so there's about 2 or 3 families that I know they meet with on a regular basis, and they have a Bible study with, but they also get together as all the women get together and all the men get together, and then they trade off who has the kids on, and then they also get together for just trips to, there's like a lake that they go up to in Indiana, and they'll, make trips, or they'll make plans for their families to all get together. And so, it's the same thing as like also with the kids being in Sunday school, and then they get to go on these trips. It's like the kids have a newfound family at church, which I think is good too. I mean, there were tons of kids in church that I grew up with, and it was good to have that foundation as well. It was just unfortunate that my church was a lot smaller, and kind of as it grew apart, or it grew older, and a lot of times what had happened in that church was, the kids would kind of age out, or the parents would leave and go somewhere else, and you just never see them again.
Yeah.
And ours just, unfortunately, was just such a small church, you just didn't have a lot that stuck around.
Yeah.
And even the few that did, you just kind of grew up, and you start getting into high school, you start looking, going and doing, your own things, and it just kind of you grow apart. But there's always those that stick around, and that is ultimately your real extended family. And they're there to lean on, which is good.
You all are my extended family.
Much love, bro.
I had to ruin the moment.
I was waiting for it.
I had to ruin it.
I wasn't expecting that one. I was.
I was.
Yeah,
totally for him.
Yeah.
I was waiting for something else.
I don't know what else I would have pushed.
Well, wait,
I don't know.
was that one delayed?
Actually, that one wasn't.
So I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just it took a while for him to get back on track. I don't know. All right, guys.
That was
was
delayed.
maybe it was, and I just didn't pay attention. But I'm not going to hit it again.
Anakin's not
Bethany
delayed.
just texted, said this is an emotional episode. Thank you, Bethany.
Oh, I feel like we've had more emotional ones.
we've had y'all broken up on a few.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
yeah.
got to go back and watch some of the really good ones.
There was one
Yeah.
where I forget what we were talking about. I think it was like past Christmases, and we were talking about like we got into
know I've
it.
Talking about dads and grandpas.
Well, we
once
talked
and
about
got it big
Sunday
time.
school.
I know we've cried talking about the old church before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then definitely,
Yeah.
dads and grandfathers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, talking about whew,
Yeah.
that one gets you. Those will get you. Those moments. Alrighty, guys,
Get
that's
ya.
going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Right there at the bottom of your screen, tune in every single week on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. on all of our favorite social media. Like, share, subscribe. Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, and, of course, search for Red Moon Productions on both YouTube and Rumble, live on most of all those platforms. There's also that old-fashioned way of checking in with us.
what?
Yeah, Keith, you know it best.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Every time, man.
I'm wet.
Just whoa, hey.
It's just hot in here.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it is.
not
That
that-
is.
yeah.
Well, Edie,
Get mine out of the
she-
gutter.
she's about to come over.
Yeah,
and
she
lick you.
she was putting her nose
that's
in
why I'm
places
wet.
right
That's
when
what it
That's
is.
what it is.
as soon as he said
Nose
that,
juice.
I felt the nose, and I was like, well,
She's
now
headed
I'm
out
wet
now.
too.
Oh, she's
done.
embarrassed.
Yeah,
She got.
we
she
done
got found
embarrassed
out.
her. She sorry, Edie. See if she comes back.
She's gonna
Alrighty,
go put her
guys.
nose somewhere else.
Hey, Edie, come here, girl. You gonna be here for the last part of the show? There she goes. Come here, pup.
Well, yeah, you said, Edie, come here.
There she goes. I didn't know she would stay out there. She's now her butt's on camera. That's all she's showing us. Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, along